Okay, forget it.
Okay. I'll just wait.
But I want to see that.
There you go. You can start it.
Good evening. Tonight's pre-council meeting for the city of Joliet, December the 18th, 2017. The Honorable Robert Odekirk presiding.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug. Absent. Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk. Is absent.
No, Councilman Turk is en route. I think he's stuck at a bridge.
Okay. First on tonight's agenda, we will hold the public hearing for the proposed 2018 budget. This is a public hearing, so comments would be in order at this time.
So public hearing, is there anybody who'd like to comment on the proposed budget for next year?
Seeing none, let the record show that the public hearing is closed for the proposed 2018 budget. Next, we have two presentations. The first is a presentation by Police Chief Brian Benton on the Bail Reform Act.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be quick. I know we have a busy meeting tonight, but I just wanted to follow up on an email that I sent you earlier this month. The city manager asked that I provide this overview and offer any opportunity for you to ask questions regarding the Illinois Bail Reform Act. Basically, this past summer, our legislatures enacted a new law taking effect January 1st that creates new rights for subjects in custody for nonviolent misdemeanors and some class 3 and 4 felonies. These include drug possession, DUI, and prostitution, to name a few. Under the previous law, these low-level offenders would spend weeks or even months in the county jail because they couldn't come up with the 10% required to be released from custody. In some counties, the inmates actually served more time in the county jail leading up to their sentencing than they were actually sentenced to. So they changed the law. Basically, the decision-making process behind it said the pretrial release should not focus on a person's wealth and ability to afford monetary bail, but should instead focus on that person's threat to the public safety or risk of failure to appear in court. So basically, starting January 1st, there will be a presumption that any bail that's set in connection with any of these offenses that I stated earlier shouldn't be monetary in nature. Instead, should be a combination of electronic home monitoring, curfew, drug counseling, other orders of protection, or the conditions that the judge decides to set. So those that are unable to come with a cash bond will get a hearing within 7 days and then be released from custody. I've spoken with Chief Judge Schoenstedt and Sheriff Kelly. The preliminary estimate said that we could have over 200 custodies released in the early part of next year. And while many of these are DUI, aggravated traffic offenders, not likely to be repeat offenders, there will likely be some drug addicts, some shoplifters, other theft-related criminals that we know often prey on our community. So we're not sure the impact that this is going to have on the safety of our citizens. We're hoping that the additional bail conditions that are set by the judges will help offset the impact to our safety, but I wanted to make you aware of the implications. We've cautioned our officers to make sure that they be extra vigilant. We know we may notice an increase in our shopliftings. As you know, a drug offender doesn't necessarily choose to use those drugs. It's an addiction, and they need money to fuel that habit. So our property crimes may go up as a result of these offenders being released. Our officers may notice an increase as well in responding to the bond conditions. From the discussions that I've had with the chief judge and sheriff, there are some electronic monitoring options that are likely to be implemented now while they're out on bond, which require GPS monitoring. Those GPS monitors are triggered through an alarm company, and then that likely will increase the calls for service that our officers will respond to. So again, we're not entirely sure of what impact, if any, this has on the safety of our community or on our resources, but I wanted to make sure that I clarify this with you so that you're not surprised if we do notice an impact, and give you an opportunity to ask any questions or clarify any issues you may have regarding the product.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
The next presentation is Police Chief Brian Benton and Fire Chief Joe Formals regarding youth outreach efforts.
I guess I could start while the fire chief is on his way up here. This was in response to Councilman Morris's request that we clarify some of the requests that were included in this budget for our police cadets. But basically, we in the police department realize the value of the youth in our community and the impact that they have on, the juveniles have on our criminal justice system. We as police officers have often engaged in programs outside of traditional law enforcement to network with our youth, as far back as the police athletic leagues, where we've coached our kids, all the way up through our safe school program that we had about a dozen officers that were involved in our grade schools. Our goal was to try to present that positive role model for the youth so that they could look at law enforcement as a career they can aspire to. At times we've had difficulty fulfilling that obligation and networking with the youth in the community, so we've looked for other opportunities to do so. Recently, we partnered with our high school in a program called Cops in Classrooms, where select department recruiters are given substitute teacher status. They go through the training and the schooling to become substitute teachers, and they go into our government classes in the high schools of both West and Central and talk about constitutional issues affecting policing, or driver's ed classes talk about how to interact with the police if you are stopped. So we took those department recruiters, we expanded last year our recruitment initiative, both on the fire department and the police department, worked in close conjunction with the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners to try to improve the diversity within our department, both race and gender. Through our expanded recruitment efforts, we were able to improve our African-American applicants by 22%, our Hispanic applicants by 44%, and our female applicants by almost 28%. However, this didn't necessarily equate into an increase in the diversity that we're actually hiring into the police department. For one reason or another, whether the applicants didn't pass the physical agility test, didn't pass the background test, we weren't successful in improving the diversity as much as we would have liked. Which brought us to the efforts from last year, where we looked at our police department explorers, which we've had in place now for years, and we have a very sound foundation for that program. We have some explorer advisors that go above and beyond to try to bring in racially diverse preteens, teenagers and young adults, in order to give them a good understanding of what it takes to be a police officer. Let them know how to develop their work ethic, how to develop a job history, and basically what to expect to get into law enforcement. So through our efforts, we were able to add a 2-point bonus, if you will, for our preference points for police cadets that would get hired into the police department. But what we'd like to do is limit the police cadets to be hired only from our explorers. And that, I believe, is what you were questioning the other night, Councilman Morris, in terms of how the explorers the cadets would be hired in and where we would draw from. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, hi, Mayor, Council. Just to kind of echo Chief Benton's comments. Again, with the fire department, we used to have a public education officer back in pre-2009. He was pretty active out in the public, talking to kids. We had a Fast Kids program, fire awareness safety team that went into the 4th grade classrooms throughout the city of Joliet, interacted with the kids, not only teaching fire safety, but also a little bit about a career in the fire service. So as Chief Benton mentioned, new police and fire board rules that came into place this year, there are 2 points for individuals that are cadets. The fire department does not have a cadet program. We've been working on an explorer/cadet program, kind of have an outline as far as what we'd like to do with that. It would involve not only some classroom and hands-on, but also ride-along opportunity and an opportunity to get involved in the community via the fire department. So that's something that we hope to be able to kick off this year. We just released our new hire list. It took us about the last 6-8 months to putting that list together, so that list will be in place for the next 2 years. We'll do our hiring off of. Again, like the police department, we struggle with diversity, females especially. We have never had a female firefighter, but I'm pleased to report that through our recruitment efforts this last time, we have a number of candidates, candidate 3 and 4, candidate 21, 22, 28, all females. So I believe we're going to be successful in bringing on some female firefighters this go around. And we did take a lot of time getting out in the community, getting out in the colleges, spreading the word about a career in the fire service. So I think we were successful with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Okay. Next on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Thank you. You're good. First is Tom Howard.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you. I'm here concerning the chunk of farmland that is being considered for rezoning.
Sir, can you give your name and address for the record, please?
Okay, Tom Howard, 17448 West Manhattan Road, Elwood.
Thank you.
Unincorporated Jackson Township. I do not agree with what is being contemplated and requested by the property owners. I think it would mess up the continuity of putting some more warehousing in between two already, one established and the other one starting and growing. And the ground is currently agricultural. They want to rezone it for light industry and warehousing. It just would mess up our community. There's a time and a place for warehousing, but that is not the right time or the right place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Suber. Gerald Hellis.
Good evening. My name is Gerald Hellis. I live 19301 Quail Court, Elwood, Illinois, unincorporated Jackson Township. First would be an environmental concern. Our groundwater, we're on wells, and there's going to be added air pollution. When you're talking about hundreds of trucks, or are you talking about thousands of trucks? Because it's not just this piece of ground. There's proposed park in Elwood, Northport, that they're talking about developing there. We raise our children down there, and kids have a way of finding a way to get into these places. Landowners' attorneys talked about ponds, retention ponds, to, I guess, catch the water from the roof of these warehouses. These children can find their way into places like this. When you mix industrial sites with where people live, it's not a good mix. And you got the ambulances that come from the south when you talk about added traffic. They come from Braidwood, Braceville, and Wilmington. It's another thing to think about. Are we going to be good neighbors or not? I mean, these guys have to be able to find their way north. That's pretty much all I've got.
Thank you.
Ann Baskerville.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Ann Baskerville, 26955 South Calvert, Manhattan. I'm here on behalf of the Illinois chapter of the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club has started a sort of a movement trying to get the community together to call for a moratorium on all new warehouses in Will County until such time as a comprehensive land use and transportation plan is put in place. We have about close to 400 signatures on that petition. As you also may know, Scott Slocum has started a petition, a change.org petition, calling for safety improvements on I-80. I know that's a concern that a lot of people in the community have. That has about 6,000 last time I looked. Also, some residents along 53 have gone door to door and collected close to 300 petitions. Some of the concerns the Sierra Club sees are just good planning. So just south of where this land is, you have the Medewa National Tallgrass Prairie and you have Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery, two federal institutions that are very important to our entire community, along with Route 66, which obviously is very important to downtown Joliet with the museum and everything here. So we would like to see just a timeout on these huge warehouse developments. We know the intersection of 53 and 80 is very dangerous. I don't think it was ever designed for the traffic that it's seeing now. I know that several, elected officials have tried to get increased federal funding for 80, given the Will County's central role in basically our nation's economy in the center of the United States. And so we just hope that in that planning, we can all work together, Elwood, Joliet, Will County, and do what's best for our citizens. The last point I'll make is regarding air pollution. We know that diesel pollution is very irritating to the respiratory system, and to add more warehouses on 53 without a good plan could just increase those choke points right there at 53 and 80, where I know that I try to avoid it now, but in the past you could smell the diesel exhaust. So I just ask that we put a timeout until we can work together and have a good transportation plan and a good land use plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Hunt.
Hi, Katie Hunt, 420 James Road, Elwood, Illinois, also Jackson Township. I emailed all of you and just wanted to follow up on that email. And thank you for taking the time to read it. And some of you contacted me back, and I appreciate that. I have been a teacher here in Joliet for 10 years, very happily at Hufford Junior High and now at Joliet West High School. Even though I don't live here in Joliet, I still see the importance of being neighborly and helping out neighboring communities. And that is why I'm here today to ask that you guys return the favor. Commenting on the no road warehouse or the rezoning to industrial, I'm asking that you vote no on that request due to the fact that you are making a decision that's going to impact the community in Elwood and Jackson Township and Manhattan and the greater Will County community in that, for that matter. And I don't believe it's for the better, and I don't believe many of the citizens in that area believe it's for the better. I understand that it may not directly impact you, as some of you don't live in that area. Some of you live out near Kendall County. So I'm telling you, as a person that lives there and drives through there every day, that it is difficult, it's not safe, and it's forever impacting and changing my quality of life, my family's quality of life, and the community in general. So I'm just asking that you consider voting no on that changing of zoning, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dave Turdick.
I will speak tomorrow evening.
Paul Buss.
Paul Buss, Jackson Township Highway Commissioner. I have nothing at this time.
Matt Robbins.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Matt Robbins. I'm a Jackson Township trustee. I'm here on behalf of the Jackson Township trustees, the highway supervisor, the assessor, the township clerk on the annexation of the 130 acres at Knoll Road. We as a township are strongly against this and feel it will be very detrimental to our residents in the surrounding area that is already inside of Joliet town, the city of Joliet. It will affect the quality of life in Jackson Township and surrounding communities due to drastic change in landscape, disruption of funeral processions to Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery, and negative impact on the safety of our citizens. It will also cause an unnecessary and costly burden on current infrastructure of Jackson Township by means of an increase in vehicle traffic and increased need to road repairs. We ask you to keep this property residential as spelled out in your master plan and was also recommended by your staff. The residents of Elwood rely on Joliet for shopping, dining, entertainment, healthcare. With adding more traffic to 53, it is cutting off our lifeline to get to Joliet, and people will begin to take their business elsewhere. Centerpoint is less than half built out. We ask you to keep warehousing there and let Jackson Township be. We know you have a very difficult job running the city of Joliet. I wouldn't even want to begin to believe what you guys have to go through. But please put yourselves in our shoes. Would you want warehouses in your backyard? Thank you.
Thank you.
Tricia Moss.
Hello, my name is Tricia Moss. I live at 906 Laurel Drive, Elwood, Illinois. I'm opposed to the rezoning as well. I agree with the other speakers that are here today. I'd also like to add, just because the market appears to be warehouse development and distribution centers now, it doesn't mean the market won't change over the coming years. I know that people are moving to Elwood. My mother-in-law and father-in-law actually just moved there. And I have new neighbors. So don't black out residential. It's still available. We have enough industrial zone land, as they mentioned, in place already. Let's be responsible and utilize the land first before rezoning. I urge you vote no for the rezoning change off of Mill Road. Thank you very much.
Gary Wasetis. Rachel Ventura.
Hello, Rachel Ventura, 617 North Rainer, Joliet, Illinois. I'm going to present a couple of facts that piggyback off of what some of the residents have said already. I'm asking you to vote no on annexation. This will bring in 15,000 employees, outside employees to the area, but it will also bring in 16,000 extra trucks. So it will increase the traffic. The accidents right now in Elwood, 45% of it is made up by truck traffic alone, and it is the second most deadly cause of death in the area. It will bring in water, air, and light pollution. It will displace farmers, a loss of 2,200 acres of farmland. And I believe that farmland is important for our area.
Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
I think you're talking about a different project.
No, I'm talking about this project.
North Point's not on the agenda.
Can I continue my 3 minutes, Mayor? You
No, this is
always
about,
interrupt me.
Well, because this is about items on the agenda. You come in front of us and talk about things that aren't on the agenda. You're talking about a completely different project.
This is the annexation for light industrial for this area. This is a part of this project.
It's not this project. It's a different project.
I would like to continue. I have 3 minutes.
If you could stick to the agenda.
This is the agenda. This is the same topic that everyone else here is talking about. You didn't interrupt any of them.
Because they're talking about annexation and rezoning a specific piece of property.
Right, so that this project can come in.
You're talking about a project that Elwood is considering that Joliet has nothing to do with. And unfortunately—
This is the annexation of changing to light industrial.
Unfortunately, this has become the meme that's been put out there that somehow this is tied to the North Point project. I've been on radio, I've talked to reporters, everyone I talked to, I saw the same thing. North Point has never contacted the city of Joliet. Now, you're doing the same thing. I am going to cut it off. If you want to speak about this item, please feel free to, but we're not here to discuss North Point. That's not what we're talking about.
I am here to discuss. You're telling me that this is not going to increase traffic. You're telling me it's not going to increase light pollution or air pollution or traffic pollution. You're talking about on here that the Sierra Club has not sought a moratorium on new warehouses when a speaker just got here and talked about that. You're not talking about that there's a lawsuit going on right now. I have all of these things on here. There's more disruption of funeral processions in Abraham Lincoln's National Museum. It will, affect national species like our tall grass. You're telling me these things are not, when you change it from farmland to light industrial, it's not going to affect these things? I'm here to speak about that. And I don't know why you disrespect me when I get up to speak about this. So again, I'm going to just summarize it as I'm asking you to listen to the residents who spoke here today and represent their wishes and needs. You are a government to represent the people, and they're here speaking, telling you what it is that they need. So please vote no.
Thank you.
Michael Varman. I apologize on this one. Mr. Martz, M-A-R-T-S, last name. Mike Mungovan.
Hi, thanks for your time. I'm Mike Mungovan. I live at 214 Gladys Ave, Joliet, Illinois, which is probably the nearest property to Joliet property to the Green Road that you're talking about. I really wish you'd vote against it because of the fact that you're sure sure to guarantee that there'll be 40+ vacant lots in my neighborhood because no one's gonna build in there. If you put a warehouse, which will be directly outside of my dining room window. So I just wanted to add my, until the infrastructure is improved down 53 and 80, really don't need to add any more traffic to that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Walsh.
Mr. Mayor and Board, I'm Larry Walsh. I live at 18801 Brown Road, Elwood, Illinois. I'm here to support the number of members of our community. The residents that have been building out here, have moved out here, have invested their life savings into their home, their little part of what they want to have as a home and a home site. We have worked diligently in Jackson Township over the years in order to create good subdivisions, subdivisions that have good homes in them, good roads in them, and good people in them. And this issue is wanting to put two 1 million square foot distribution centers right smack dab in the middle of residential. Now, how would any of you like to have the same thing happen to you in the west side of Joliet, up in the area of Kendall County, that you plan nice, livable, quality of life subdivision, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a big warehouse, as this gentleman said, right out his a dining room window. So a lot of discussion has already been talked about this. You have a very professional department, and that Kendall Jackson and his employees have looked and gone over this, and their recommendation is no. No to the annexation, no to the rezoning. You have a proposal that you do not have a buyer, you don't have a developer to lay out a plan to show what is going to happen, what they want to see happen on that property. All they're doing is asking to come in and be able to ask for a higher zoning for the property, so it's more valuable. So, I mean, if you are in the business of granting special uses and rezonings to make sure the person has is able to get more money for his property, then I guess maybe you're on the right track. But we are looking to the future, because that is so important to us in that area. Across the railroad track to the west, the Centerpoint properties that Joliet has developed over the last number, since 2007, 2008, whatever it is. There's plenty of room for more 1 million square foot developments. But from the railroad track east to 53 is ready for, or let's keep it ready for the development of residential. And so anything that is going to be placed here any development of warehousing is that's going to be placed here, the only outlet is out to 53. And Route 53 right now has become the disaster of middle of Will County. And the issue is the interchange at Route 80 and 53 is the worst. It's most dangerous interchange of Route 80 on the Route 80 line through Will County. And I have to say to you, as a community, as a government, what has Joliet done to help alleviate the safety issues that is created already now on 53? 53 from Laraway Road north is a disaster. 53 and Laraway Road going east or west out to Patterson Road and into the existing ones out there is dangerous. So if you are not prepared to help out the safety issue, then why create another opportunity to put more vehicles on Route 53? I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Larry Walsh Jr.
Thank you, Mayor, councilmen and women. I'm Larry Walsh Jr. I live at 21447 Woodcove Drive in Elwood. I'm also the state representative for the 86th District. And you've heard tonight from many of our constituents, maybe not all yours, but I will say all of mine, that either encompass Joliet or are in the surrounding area. And I'm here to talk about this annexation for the 138 acres at Breen Road and Route 53. And as it's been stated, your city staff, as I read the memo today, is requesting a denial from each and every one of you for this annexation agreement. And as you've heard from your residents or my constituents, our county executive, that it falls in line. This 138 acres, if you look at a map, sits in between two residential subdivisions, one unincorporated, one of the city of Joliet, that you in the past had came down and developed. Now I remember back in about 2005, 2008 timeframe when that whole thing was developed and planned out, Joliet Township High School District sued the city of Joliet over that residential development. And in that settlement, if I'm not mistaken, that the east side of 53 would be industrial, the west side of 53 would be residential. And that's what's in your plan today. And I'm asking you to look at that, because that's what you put forth when you developed and you put forth a plan with your boundary agreements back in the early 2000s, mid-2000s. And those are still there today. Now, over the last couple months, I would say probably the last 6 months, I've received numerous phone calls, emails, correspondence to my state office regarding the conditions of Route 53 and Interstate 80, begging me to do something about it. And I'd love to. I'm willing to put forth a capital plan to redevelop Route 80, to redevelop Route 80 or Route 53, to vote for the revenues that are going to be needed to take that step. But folks, we're sitting here talking about putting more responsibility on those roadways that I have no control over. I don't sit down in the General Assembly and vote whether a new warehouse goes up or a new industrial development goes up. Those aren't my votes. Those are your votes. Those are your votes. I can put forth the revenues to make those things happen, but then that goes on everybody. And as my father, God love him, said, we need to start working together. We need to sit down and start coming up with a comprehensive plan to deal with these developments. And they can't be hodgepodged. You can't put one here and put one there and then see if everything's going to come together. That's what we've been doing. And I'm going to tell you, take a ride down 53 at 7 o'clock in the morning. You're going to sit for 45 minutes because I do it every morning. Every morning. I have to wait for traffic to come into Emerald Drive because we can't put a stoplight up. And I have to wait to get on Laraway Road because the truck traffic is going down Laraway Road to enter the Center Point Industrial Park. We've got to come together, guys and gals. We do.
I don't think so.
This piece of property is just going to add to that problem. And as I listen, somebody mentioned Scott Slocum. I want to put a plug out for him today. Every morning, he's complaining about I-80. I've got to listen to that. That's coming into my office. And we keep adding to it. We need to take a deep breath, look at what we're doing, and come up with a plan. I'm asking you to sit back. This doesn't have to happen today.
Can you wrap it up, please? You're over time.
This doesn't have to happen today. Take a deep breath. Let's look at it. Sit down and let's talk about coming up with a comprehensive plan for the south side of Joliet because it needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, you can approach.
I'm Al Gutierrez, 19544 West Sharp Road. I've got a lot of things to say. I said them before. These warehouses, it may be good for money in your pockets. I've lived out there since 1973, when Joliet, I think, was still a viable community where you could come downtown and you'd have every store, Sears, Penny's, and everything. I don't know if it was the city council at that time decided, oh, let's get the malls out there. They're going to bring us money. Kill Joliet. Now, when you build all these warehouses, people are going to start moving out. In order to take and rejuvenate a community, you have to have youngsters growing up in that community and wanting to buy back in that community. When there's no youngsters, your schools closed down, your houses are vacated, especially those over here that are in Cedar Creek, because the city council knew that Center Point was a done deal before the first house got sold. Now, I look at the attorneys and everybody here, all the representatives, I hear about if there's problems out that way with the railroad, call Union Pacific. This morning, Union Pacific blocked Millsdale Road from before 7 o'clock till after 10:30. After 10:30. I did call Union Pacific. They don't answer. Now, the people that transport the crews out there bought crews out there at 10:15 to relieve the crews on that train. It's funny how 2 people got off. The person didn't bring anybody back. Did they abandon the train? All that's getting put on us out there. Now, I've lived on Sharp Road since 73. We've got people who've lived there since 74. When I went and talked to them, they says, we thought when we bought this property that we would die out here from old age. We don't plan to die out here from getting hit by a truck. If I talk to every one of you and ask where you're from and how many times you travel that area over there, I guarantee you that most of you from the west side don't travel that area no more than maybe once or twice a week. Think about the people that travel it 5 or 6 times a day. I'd like to have somebody ride with me as we're coming down 53 and see how close them trucks get to you. And you're way in your lane and they're moving you over. Nobody seems to care. Now, if I am correct, and you've got it on tape, when Center Point went in, they says the only trucks coming out from Laraway Road going east to 53 will be trucks from warehouses built on Laraway Road itself. There's not one single warehouse built from Patterson Road all the way out to 53, but we're getting all the truck traffic. Amazon was supposed to be coming in off the Laraway Road. They've got a center turn lane. They're not even using it. Every morning there's almost a wreck over there because the city comes out there, puts a squad car out there like you've got tonight. They're blocking the inside lane so the cars can get out, but the people coming south on 53 decide, that squad car's there, I don't need a policeman out there, I can turn right in front of the traffic. And all you have to do, slam on your brakes. One of these days, I'm not gonna slam them, I'm just gonna run into them. You got your city police out there. If they're not out there to do their job, don't put them out there. Or travel that road yourselves. That's morning and night. Now, I know you all sit there, and I know Jan Quillman. She's been one of the ones before for the Pesquinelli property that has taken and tabled annexation until the property's been studied. At one point, they were wanting to put houses, a bunch of houses on wetlands. And the city council says, there's no wetlands. Next thing you come out with, what happened to all them houses? Well, it's wetlands. But if you don't do your homework, you'll pass anything. We're tired of it out there. You don't live there, we do. We don't need somebody from the west side telling us what to do and how to run our lives out there. Because you're not there daily to put up with the same bull we do. Now,
You're over the time limit, can you wrap it up, please?
what's that?
You're over the time limit, can you please wrap it up?
Well, yes, I will. Would you all take time and ride that road yourselves? Or are you too afraid to? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Morgan Africa. I live at 19314 Quail Court. First, I'd like to thank you. I haven't been to downtown Joliet in a while, and it's really looking beautiful. So I want to commend you for that. You guys have a tough job, but I live out there, and I just don't want it, plain and simple. I have little kids. I want to grow the community. I'd rather look at houses and more children and more steelmen than warehouses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Diane Sewing. I live at 107 Woodbine in Elwood. I am also the Jackson Township Supervisor. And again, I agree with everyone that has spoken so far. I'd like to respectfully ask you to vote no against this annexation. We've had residents come to our meetings to express their concerns of the traffic concerns, the pollution concerns, everything everyone has said as well. We're a farming community and we're losing that. So I'd just like to keep it a farming community. Get a little emotional here. My dad been a farmer for years, and it would surround him. Like if this were his home, sorry, that's the wrong one. Retract that. But that opens the door for more industrial. There's one sitting across 53 that's 1 million square feet, empty, but it had to be built. Corn, the corn wasn't even combined out of there before they started digging. They just leveled it all. So that was a loss of, farmland, and that's important to our community. I think that we're missing that whole point. So again, I respectfully request that you guys would vote no against this annexation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kathy Horsley, and I live in Gladdale. I have 4 grandchildren that live right across the street from me. And I'm sure none of you have ever experienced walking your children, your grandchildren, and have a semi come right next to us down the road. Well, the kids love it. They just think it's great to see this big truck, Nana, but it isn't great. We've lived there for 25 years. It doesn't matter your west side, east side, it doesn't matter. That's our home. And that's my grandchildren's home. And one day they will be driving on 53. I'm not going anywhere. We want to stay there. That's where we come from. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll defer to the city manager to review tomorrow night's agenda.
Mayor and council, tonight in this work session, we'll be discussing and seeking any questions you might have or comments on tomorrow night's regular meeting. Very briefly, prior to tomorrow night's regular meeting, we do have a Finance and Public Service Committee, and they will be taking action on making recommendations of many of the items you'll find on the agenda. If I can, let me just, in the interest of time, as far as the consent agenda, is there any city council comments or questions regarding the consent agenda, item number 7 on this agenda? If not, we'll move on for licenses and permit applications. I would like to ask the Deputy Liquor Commissioner to come forward. We do have one liquor license with a recommendation for denial that I think it might be helpful to comment on.
Mayor, City Council, I have Council Number 674-17.
Oh yeah, me too.
A public hearing was held on November 15, 2017 at 9 a.m. for a request of transfer of a Class C license. The applicant is Tahir Jabbar, DBA Joliet Market, which is located at 2155 West Jefferson Street. 2 persons appeared in opposition to this transfer. Thomas Knorr, representing Sidelines Bar and Americrest Shopping Center. Knorr complained there are too many liquor stores in the area already. And then Connie Sondag, representing Basinger's Pharmacy, say that Basinger just purchased the Senior Tequila location across the street and had plans to level the building and build a new pharmacy and liquor store. The City Council has already approved the liquor license for the new location. Sonjak stated the license is granted for the Joliet Market. Basinger will not build a new building or pharmacy. There are no outstanding monies owed to the city. The building department is not approved is not approving the license at this time due to the list of violations needed correcting. The fire department is deferring to the building department. The police department has no issues. Based on the saturation of the liquor license in the vicinity, as well as the impact that the additional one would have on the area, also the negative impact on the new development, the liquor commissioner is recommending denial of this liquor license at this time.
Mayor?
Yes.
Question? Oh, when it says transfer, is this license?
It was, the gentleman, no, it's not a transfer, it's a new license. He originally put in for a transfer, but he can't transfer because it's a new location.
Okay. And there's no findings against any of his businesses or business practices?
Not as of now, no, not the gentleman that's in Joliet, correct.
So we're against competition?
There's 20 liquor licenses within 1 mile of that liquor store right now.
But this is just a liquor store, not a tavern?
Correct, just a liquor store, right. And there's also liquor stores around there. Between liquor stores and taverns, there's 20 right now, within a mile radius.
I don't know if it's our job to limit competition.
Well, I signed the denial, and it was difficult because this is a reputable owner in Joliet, and I think what they're proposing is different. It's more than just a liquor store. It's like a Binny's type of liquor store. So my hope would be that they can work with city staff to find another location. Building right there was going to cause problems with some of the other, well, again, with some of the other developments that are coming in. So it was difficult because I think this would have been a nice addition, but I don't think that's the right spot. Yes.
Mayor, could you find out maybe by tomorrow evening, you know, Basinger's is objecting here, but I think I've been hearing for 2 years now they're going to level the old Senior Tequilas and go in there, and we gave them the liquor license, how long ago was it?
Earlier this year, I know that.
Yeah, could we try to find out what their time frame is for doing the construction and doing that project? Thank you.
No problem.
Mayor's question.
Yes.
Isn't parking limited there? Because there's other entities in that strip mall there, and I know in the past, parking has always been a problem.
It's a very tight spot, yes.
So if you're gonna have like a Binny's type liquor store, there sure isn't enough parking there for that.
I wouldn't think so, but that's not my choice.
No, I know, but don't you have to have so many parking spaces for such a building like that, or
You would think
business
so,
like that?
yes. Mm-hmm.
According to the zoning ordinances?
Right.
Now, you said this was confused as a transfer because he currently has a location.
He currently has a location on Theodore, and they were transferring, but you can't transfer a license per ordinance in Joliet from address to address. So originally he put in for a transfer, and that was written there, but it's not. Actually, he refilled the paperwork out as a new license.
Where on Theodore is that?
He's right next to not the Donut Den strip mall, but the next one over.
Yes.
Is the entire building scheduled to be a liquor store or a Binny's type?
That's what he wanted to do, make that whole building a liquor store.
What's the size of that building's huge?
It's huge, very big.
Yeah. Do you know approximately the square footage?
I do not know that, no.
Okay. If you could maybe get that for tomorrow.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
I still have two more I have to read in the thing.
Sure.
All right. Council Member 675-17, a public hearing was held on November 15th at 9:30 a.m. for a request of a transfer of a Class A liquor license. The applicant is Crystal Lopez, DBA Los Tres Hermanos, located at 670 East Jackson. A neighbor, Juan Salabitos, appeared in a hearing in hopes that the new owner could improve the problems he sees daily. Subpoena claims of gunshots, disturbances, beer bottles everywhere, including in his yard, and an armed robbery in the lot about 10 days ago. There are no outstanding monies owed to the city. Building department and fire both advise the location has a list of items that need to be repaired and replaced, and are not approving until these are taken care of. The police department has no issues, and based on the facts of this hearing, the Liquor Commission is recommending approval of this liquor license. A public hearing was held on November 15, 2017 for a transfer of a Class B license. The applicant is Entree U LLC, DBA Bookie McGee's, located at 2450 West Jefferson Street. No persons appeared in opposition. No monies are owed to the city. Police, fire, and building departments have no issues. And based on the facts of this hearing, Liquor Commissioner is recommending approval. Last, Council Memo 677-17, public hearing was held on November 15, 2017 at 10:30 a.m. for a transfer of a Class C license. The applicant is Savani Inc., owner Dispense Patel, DBA 7-Eleven store, located at 2405 Essington Road, Suite J. No persons appeared in opposition. There are outstanding monies owed to the city. The building and fire department and police department have no issues. Based on the facts of the hearing, the commissioner is recommending approval at this time. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, I have some, could we back up to 675-17, 670 East Jackson Street?
Yes, ma'am.
The person the applicant has no experience at all. Now, this tavern, or we want to call it, has been an issue in the past. Because I received phone calls on it, like fireworks, fighting, gunshots. And with all of the violations, I would rather we table this until everything is done and they show good faith here, because I hate to pass this liquor license and nothing gets done.
They can't get, if the building department is not approved, they will not get the license until the building and the fire approve it.
Or why can't we just table it? And then this other one has no experience. So how are you gonna have experience? I'd rather have somebody with experience in there that knows how to handle something like that rather than one person with nothing.
Okay.
Especially for that particular area. That's just my opinion, because I'm the one who gets the phone calls.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor and council, moving on. Section 9 is public hearings. There is 3 public hearings, but the last one is scheduled to be tabled. If I could, I'd like to ask Kendall Jackson, Community Development Director, to come forward. And Mr. Jackson, if you would, among any comments you make on this proposed annexation, just review again the basis for the staff's recommendation in denial of the annexation request.
Thank you, Mr. Hales. Mayor and members of the council, I'd like to draw your attention to the screens, your monitors. The 138 plus acre site is on the screens at this moment. Krista, if you could go to the next one more, please. This is the proposed land use plan from the comprehensive plan. From the Southside
what year is this
plan. This was 2007.
2007?
Yes. The plan was approved by the council in 2007. The area that is shaded, sort of it's really yellow, but I think it's showing up on the screen as sort of a greenish, light greenish color. That was all proposed for residential development. We do have 2 existing City of Joliet subdivisions, the reserve at Cedar Creek and the villas at Cedar Creek, which are just to the north of the circled area. The circled area that says site is the proposed site for the Smith family annexation and rezoning. I believe there was a reference earlier to a lawsuit from the school district regarding residential and industrial. There was a portion of what was to be residential actually zoned for industrial. And, okay, thank you. And that land is just to the east of 53, roughly to the east of the circled area. There was a portion that was rezoned, rezoned to industrial. All of the remaining portion of what this plan sought to do was to have that land developed in the future as residential.
Excuse me, Kendall?
Yes.
What, in reference to this map you're showing us, where is the industrial part that was rezoned?
The
Is
industrial.
it located on the map?
Yes. Let's see here.
You said it's to the east?
It's to the east of the area that has the circle. So it would be north and east of that area. It's hard to see on the map, but it's a hatched area.
And when was that rezoned?
That was done probably shortly after this plan went into effect.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was zoned industrial?
No, it was zoned, what was it zoned?
It was originally earmarked for residential. And then there was a lawsuit from the school district.
So the city council, after this plan, rezoned that to industrial?
Correct.
Okay.
That would be the residential industrial conversion
Correct.
designation?
The conversion, yes.
And if I may, while I'm talking, ask one other question. Please explain to me what industrial recreational is?
Industrial recreational, that's the red hatched area, which is a lot easier
but Kendall, what is it? Industrial?
So what it is basically what we have now. And that is, I believe there is a remote control race car facility that is located in that red hatched area by the river. Also, the paintball facility is located there. So that was the land uses that were referenced to as recreational industrial.
Thank you.
Are you talking about the upper left corner?
The upper left corner that's hatched, and also the racetrack areas that are sort of the central location of the located centrally on the map there. Okay. That also has the red hatching. That is the racetrack. The dark red areas were proposed for commercial development.
This is a paintball.
And then the balance of that map would be the industrial uses that were proposed at that time. For this particular proposal, staff analyzed what was being proposed, and that's the annexation and rezoning annexation and zoning to industrial against this map. And we, as a staff, felt that, and you can see sort of the diagonal line. Again, this is not the pointer doesn't work very well here, but there's a diagonal line that sort of is at the center of the map there, and that's the current railroad. Staff felt that that would be a good boundary for future, existing and future residential to the east of that line, and then the industrial could continue to grow out mostly in the center point area to the west of that line. So that's pretty much what we looked at as a staff when we were analyzing this particular proposal. I'll be happy to answer any specific questions.
Anything that's not colored is zoned industrial?
Correct. Well, on the map, it looks like a light lilac color, and that would be industrial. The surrounding area that is not colored is out of the city's jurisdiction.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
There's the country club.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Michael Hanson, attorney representing the applicant. I think it would be, while I have certain comments I'd like to make, I think I would like to make those tomorrow evening, but I think it would be appropriate right now if the council were to hear from Rodney Tonelli of Rudiger and Tonelli, who was the author of this plan, and have him comment our perspective with respect to the land use plan. So if the mayor permits, I'd like to have Mr. Tonelli make a few comments.
That's fine.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. I'll be brief. I think it's important that we do take a step back to 2007 when this plan was prepared and just think about the contextual differences that have happened from then to now, because I think they factor heavily into your thought process here. As was mentioned, we served as a city consultant in helping in the preparation of the 2007 Southside Comprehensive Plan. When we went through that process, and some of you were here at the time, and we'll remember that. It was a large-scale process. There was a number of large residential projects proposed. Cedar Creek from Pasquinelli, you're all familiar with. The McCormick assemblage to the east along Spangler Road with some 1,000 or 1,100 units. There was a 1,000-unit development by Centex in Elwood territory, but to the south, and similar size by Harts. And that was the context of the residential boom that was happening, as you are well aware of better than any city in the country, right, coming into 2007. This plan actually went through an exercise to recognize that with some of the other older industrial assets that were in the south side, with the large commercial recreational assets that you asked about, Councilman Hugg, like the racetrack, et cetera, it was clear that we needed to draw a line and preserve a large area of industrial for the future growth of industrial property in the city of Joliet. It's a valuable land use to you as a community. And this is the most logical place in the entire city territory for that to occur. Given all those residential subdivisions that were proposed at the time, this was the place that that line was drawn, where the pink ends and the yellow begins. What wasn't happening when this plan was drawn is Centerpoint Joliet did not yet exist and had not even come to you. The Union Pacific Intermodal Yard did not exist. It had not even come to you yet. So all that's changed since then. The other thing that hadn't happened yet is the housing bubble hadn't burst and the Great Recession hadn't occurred. So for all those thousands of houses that had been proposed in this vicinity, only a couple dozen actually ever got built. Since the recession hit and the housing market stopped, and we touched on them, Kendall did a good job of explaining this to you. There was a couple of properties I want to make sure you're aware of here that were colored yellow on this plan that have been changed to industrial. Part of that, both of these were part of what was Pasquinelli Cedar Creek development at the time. Part of that was acquired by Centerpoint, the stuff west of the tracks, that has been rezoned to industrial. And the other part we talked about is east of 53, north of Breen Road, and that's where the Hillwood development is now. Some of the residents mentioned the speculative building that's been put up there at 900,000 square feet. All of that land was originally annexed, zoned, and planned for residential as part of the Pasquinelli development. So you have 2 times since 2007 where you've been brought back other properties that have said there's no residential market. We would like to have this be industrial. At the same time, we've had Union Pacific and the Centerpoint project develop. And again, there is not a residential market for these properties at this point in time. The highest and best use is for them to be zoned and developed for industrial. Thank you.
Moving on, excuse me, the second public hearing tomorrow night is a proposed annexation of 30 acres located at 3800 West Mound Road, classification to A1 zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. Is there any questions on that public hearing scheduled for tomorrow night, including action on the annexation? If not, the last public hearing is on the annexation of 1311 New Lenox Road to R1 zoning, but again, it's recommended that that be tabled. Any questions on that public hearing? If not, I'd like to move on to section 10, ordinances and resolutions. Council Memo 68217, annexation of 8 parcels near the former Silver Cross Hospital located at Maple Road and Hebbard Street. Classification to RB, restricted business zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. It's my understanding that the annexation has been amended to include verbiage dealing with the salvaging and storage of limestone blocks that would take place during the demolition. Is there any further questions on Council Memo 68217? If not, Council Memo 68317, ordinances for the levy and assessment of taxes for 2016 special service areas, and these are neighborhood improvement program. Any questions or comments? If not, Council Memo 68417, ordinances for the levy and assessment of taxes for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2017 and ending December 31st, 2017, in and for the 1996 Joliet Special Service Area, number 14, and 2009 Joliet Special Service Area Number 7, Park Hill subdivision. Any comments or questions? Moving on, Council Memo 685-17, ordinances for the levy and assessment of taxes for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2017 and ending December 31st, 2017 in and for the city of Joliet, including the Joliet Public Library. Any questions or comments? Council Memo 686-17, ordinance approving the 2018 annual budgets for the city of Joliet, the Joliet Public Library, and the Foreign Fire Insurance Board. And if you've looked at the attached memo, we have tried to list the 3 modifications or changes to the budget, which was previously discussed last week at the City Council budget work session. Any questions or comments on Council Memo 686-17? And last, Council Memo 687-17, ordinance proposing the establishment of 2018 Special Service Areas 1 and 2. Any questions or comments? Moving on to Section B resolution, and I do want to just draw your attention. The regular meeting of the City Council for tomorrow night we do have a revised agenda, and that was due to the addition of item 3 to this resolution. I'll get to that in just a minute. But first, Council Memo 689-17, resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Joliet, the Illinois Department of Corrections, and the Illinois Department of Central Management Services regarding the Joliet Correctional Center. Any questions
Mayor?
Yes.
or comments?
Do we have a business plan for this, David?
And do we have...
As we go into this to talk about us being responsible for the cleaning, maintenance, all this ongoing, we need to take precautions to avoid any damage and removing of snow and everything else. Is there anything in our budget for this? I didn't see any.
Yeah, I'd like to invite up forward our Inspector General to come and speak to this, who has been spending a great deal of time and effort in working with the state of Illinois on this proposed resolution. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Hi, everyone. And the reason I'm working on this is a project that started when I was running the legal department. So we'll see this through to fruition. To answer the question, the city is currently in negotiations with 2 business partners to execute leases regarding the use and maintenance of the property. As far as our obligations, you can see in the proposed intergovernmental agreement that the city is not tasked specifically with any maintenance obligations. The intergovernmental agreement merely relieves the state of any obligations. Anything we choose to do on the site is to be done by our choice and by our own volition. We can't call the state and say, hey, come out and clean this up. The IGA relieves them of that.
Chris, doesn't it say that we'll take every precaution to avoid any other deterioration?
That's correct, sir.
Well, as we all know, a couple of the buildings are falling down around our areas.
Yes.
That would then cause some considerable monies being spent to keep them from deteriorating any more than they are.
But the agreement contemplates third parties stepping in and taking over any of those operations.
Oh. Okay.
Question?
Yes.
Line up, Chris, that way you don't get back and forth. Does anybody have a proposal about security? How we're gonna secure this vast expanse on both sides of Broadway and what the cost will be? Security is an issue, and I'm currently working with the crime prevention officer on the police department for a security plan. And what about risk exposure? For the 5 years that we lease it, anything that happens on that prison property, should there be a lawsuit, should they go deep pocket, it's gonna be us, correct? The state is indemnified through the lease. So
I mean, has anybody looked into an insurer? You know, if in fact they would undertake it, and what kind of a deductible? I mean, you know, if you got a $3 million deductible, oh well, you know, you don't really have insurance.
I spoke with our risk manager last week, and before any agreement is formally entered into, we will speak with our insurance carrier. I didn't get a chance to talk to her today. I think it might have been done, but like I said, before we do this, they will be on board with it.
That's the questions I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, Council Memo 69017, resolution accepting a conveyance of property. This is for the future Hobart Road Boulevard extension. Any questions or comments? Council Memo 691, item 17, resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Joliet and Will County granting eminent domain powers over parcels along Vetter Road. And might ask the corporate counsel, Mr. Shanahan, is there any comments, background you want to give on this particular item?
Sure, the County of Will has power to condemn, so this is simply giving their authority to the city, if we so want to go that direction.
I have a comment.
Yep.
This was added on at the 11th hour on Friday, okay? I did not get the revised edition because I'd gone over everything with fine tooth comb, and that was not on my agenda that I received. So I would appreciate in the future, something as important as this is not put on at the last minute on a revised agenda.
I can address that. The county is voting on the same resolution on Thursday. Initially, our understanding was that our vote would follow the county vote, and we had that backwards. So we are going to vote before the county vote.
And we should have a phone call or something like that, because I'm not at a computer all day long.
Well, this is nothing that we haven't talked about in executive session.
No,
just a few weeks
I
ago.
know, but I know it was coming up today. That it wasn't eminent. Eminent domain was not eminent to be at the council.
Well, and just to...
But I'm talking about other things. This is kind of important, but I mean, to put something on at 5 o'clock on Friday when you've already got your mind set, because I read everything, okay?
Just to go into a little more detail on this too, understand that in my own district, all the road widening and development that's been done up and down the Keaton Farm corridor, same thing was signed with the county. When
Understood.
Okay.
Understood.
Okay.
I'm not.
We're not breaking new ground at all.
No. I'm just saying that's my comment.
Okay, thank you.
I was scolded about that, so.
Thank you. Moving on, item 11, bids and contracts. Since the Public Service Committee will be addressing many of these, let me just in general ask if there's any questions on the items 1 through 7 under the section on award of contracts. If not, the same will be true for amendments, change orders, and payments. We have 4 items, memos associated with that. Once again, the Public Service Committee will be reviewing those tomorrow. Is there any questions on those 4 council memos? If not, if I can just mention, maybe this would be a good time, just as a reminder, as we're in January, as we look forward to the 2 council meetings in January, it just so happens that both of these regular meetings come right after holidays. So our January 2nd, excuse me, the 2 meetings will be combined, pre-council and regular council meetings. So the point I just wanted to make is that there will just be the 2 meetings in January after those holidays. And secondly, because it may have some tie-in with some of the comments made tonight on transportation, we've asked, and he has agreed, John Grueling, the CED President and CEO, will be making a presentation on January 14th on the Will County Community-Friendly Freight Mobility Plan, which is dated September 2017. So just kind of a heads up that that'll be presented on January 14th. Other than that, I think that concludes the review of the council meeting, a regular meeting for tomorrow night. City Clerk.
Before we make a motion for a closed session, we have public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments this evening? Seeing none?
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to remind City Council that this Thursday, Housing Authority will have their Christmas party. If anyone is interested in attending. Also, no disrespect, but the people in the Jackson Street, Henderson Street area, I would challenge you to walk with me over there, and I would venture to say that not more than 4 would know you. They do know Mike Turk and the mayor, because Mike Turk has walked that area with me in the past. I've been involved in this community for over 35 years. I have not heard of any opposition to the acquisition of that bar. And there have been many young entrepreneurs, just like my cousin, who opened up the first Juliet's from former City Councilman Bob Unison, and he had no prior experience running a establishment. So I don't see any opposition from the community in that area in opposition to the transfer of that license. I also wanted to say that I talked to Chief earlier. This Thursday, or last week, I went out to the Forest Park area, and I spent over an hour and a half at our family development in the evening, so residents know that this commissioner cares about them. I also went to our Stevenson and our Ottawa Street site and our Bluff Street site a few days later, and there was a car that was traveling at a high rate of speed on Jefferson Street, which ended up hitting a home on Rainer Avenue at 12:30 a.m. I called 911, and the response from the Joliet Police Department and Joliet Fire Department was excellent. They were there rapidly, and they were also able to, what surprised me was that the impact was tremendous, and the 3 young people took off running. I don't know how they got out of that car and were able to leave the area, but an officer was able to apprehend one of the individuals a few blocks away. But it was a great job by both the Joliet Police Department and the Joliet Fire Department. I just wanted to commend them. And the only other thing I wanted to say was that, I've been involved with this, like I said, when Mayor Schultz, when Mayor Keck, when Mayor Connor were on the City Council, we had development all over the city. But I don't recall when we did the racetrack, or when we did Center Point, or we did any of the projects out there in 53, that there was any opposition from any county officials and any county officials that lived out there. As I recall, they were all big supporters of it, and I think it's a good economic development for our area, and will create jobs. Again, Merry Christmas. I hope that most of you are able to at least stop in, and I know I'm going to stop in at the Forest Park Community Center, because they also have their Christmas party this Thursday as well. And that is a great center. I used to serve on that board when Mrs. Ray was there, and since Councilman Betty Gavin has taken over, it has done even greater things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to take a moment, especially since one of the issues comes out of our Economic Development Committee, which I chair. There were several people, including Executive Walsh and Representative Walsh, who, in a nutshell, in the larger conversation, said, what is Joliet, as well as other entities, governmental entities, doing to address the traffic problem? And the traffic problem is critical, okay? Number one, and I believe Executive Walsh, you could bear this out, just recently the county was one of the final ones to sign off on the Center Point Bridge, as needed from all the governmental bodies. This was, as Representative Walsh had said, it's difficult. Executive Walsh, Representative Walsh, or junior and senior, how's that? This was spearheaded by the mayor's office and this city to bring together all the necessary people to put that in place. And then, of course, once it's constructed, and I'm very hopeful we're going to have a groundbreaking this summer. There's still some other I's to dot and T's to cross, but this is a reality. Now, as far as out on Emerald, we just discussed that in the Economic Development Committee on Thursday, and there will be a light going in on Emerald. And originally, the light was supposed to go in on Emerald as part of what we refer to as the Speedway Project. It's a gas station or a service station, full service, trucks, cars, everything. And the state was going to provide a grant money. To get it up and running so Speedway could get their project done in their time frame, we were going to put in what's referred to as temporary stoplights, but they would be fully functioning four-way stoplights. And it seemed like it was going fine. We discussed it maybe 2 months ago, and it seemed like it was going to be fine. But then the wrench was thrown in by the state where they said, nope, you got to put in the permit ones right away, which are serving the same purpose, which upped the cost by $700,000 and would have delayed the project because they added on something to do more remotely with Laraway Road, not directly with Emerald in 53 there. So the city stepped up and is going to eat that $700,000 to make sure this goes through and gets done in a timely fashion. So there is a stoplight coming to Emerald and Route 53. Steve, did I summarize that pretty accurately?
Yes, correct. We'll have an amended sales tax sharing agreement that relates to, assisting the funding of this coming forward at the first meeting in January. I'll point out we also do have a conference call meeting with IDOT tomorrow to talk about the potential where their process could speed up to perhaps match the speed of what Speedway could provide. But one way or another, you're absolutely right, Councilman Hugg, that we see this thing being accelerated.
So, and the thing, thank you, Steve. And the thing to remember is, as a city, we have no control over 53, state route, I-80, federal interstate. We can only control that which our jurisdiction allows us to. So I agree with Representative Walsh, who was here earlier, that we need to work together to get the state and the federal government to step up and do what we're doing with their roads, because we have to address this. And with that said, you'll all be happy to know you just cut 50% off my Economic Development Committee presentation tomorrow at the meeting. So with that said, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to do it before everybody started leaving. They started leaving. Maybe I'll bring it up again tomorrow, depending on how many people show up. But some of you folks there with the, very concerned on this project, in the larger scope, there is some good news. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Public comments, yes.
I just want to address Mr. Kaderis's comments. In years back, when the first proposal for the drag strip, the Route 66 drag strip, that I was township supervisor of Jackson Township, and we had a number of people, huge number, well over 300-400, that signed a petition that they were opposed to what that was going to bring into Jackson Township, and that they were opposed to that construction. But it went down and became drag strip anyway. And then when the the NASCAR comes about, and I spoke then as a state senator and township supervisor, that our people were they were worried about what was going to take place. But I can remember my comments to Mayor Schultz and the board that they were going to definitely approve building that. And my comments to them was that if we are going to build this, let's make it the premier racetrack in the Midwest, in the state of Illinois, and in which would happen. And then when it comes to the Center Point property and the UP, that area that they were proposing was all basically residential or agricultural, with a number of residential properties of 5 acres and larger lots out there. And that I told the Center Point people that there's a human factor out there, that when you're working with these people and trying to buy their properties, these are their homes, and you have to look at an issue, just don't look at value, but look at the quality of life that they also worked at and lived at. And so that's why we were supportive. The issue that we are talking about here tonight is the creation of an industrial area surrounded by residential area that has been in existence for well over 30, 40 years. And to continue to move forward, that's why I said in my comments, you want to put 1 million square foot distribution centers across the railroad track to the west, where it's open space and industrial, and it fits right there. And you can use Centerpoint Way as a route to get to Route 55. This way, the ones that proposed here, the sole outlet is Route 53. So I just wanted to correct my good friend Bob in what we were doing at that time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Sir?
I just got one more thing to say. When you're talking about, you know, you're going to build the Hobo Road Bridge and everything, it's just like anybody out there will tell you. If the people who build out there don't police their drivers and they let them go, they're not going to take that bridge and pay a toll. We got people coming from Elwood down Baseline Road to take Laraway Road out when they could just as easy pick up Arsenal Road to the west and pick up I-55, but that's out of their way. So, you know, if you can't police your drivers and you hire drivers that with next to no experience that can't back a semi up, you get them down our side street. I ran out in front of a truck the other day. Now, we own to the center of Sharp Road. It's not a dedicated right-of-way out there. It's not a dedicated road. And I stopped the driver, and I says, can you read? And he said, yeah, why? I says, there's no truck signs all over the place, 12-ton weight limits. I says, here you got a full semi with a sleeper on it and a 50-some foot reefer on there. He says, well, I got lost. And I says, well, let me back the pickup truck up behind you, and you go back the same way you came. The minute I stepped back to back that pickup up, he booked the 53. You can't police the drivers. You can all have ways for them to go, but they're going to go the way they want. And it's always on our neighborhoods. Same like when Pesquinelli property was built out there, City Council says, them people are going to have a way to get from Bridge Road right over to 53. They won't be taking Sharp Road. Well, Pesquinelli went under. All the traffic comes down Sharp Road. You can't control the drivers.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned?
Second.
The motion seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried.